happy to see all of you out here in this lovely weather that we're having. I appreciate you guys coming out to celebrate this special time with us. So for the past week, we've been celebrating Red Ribbon Week, which is the oldest and largest drug prevention campaign in the nation. We spent the week focused on the theme, Life is a Puzzle, Solve It Drug-Free. Every year, the Red Ribbon, the National Red Ribbon Foundation, they come up with a theme, and that's our theme this year. As you can look around the room, there's tons of puzzle pieces that was designed by our Wallingford public school children from elementary to high school. So when all of this stuff is done, take a look around, and there are actually some very interesting things to read over there. So before I finish my little thing, I would like for the coalition board members to stand and say hi. So, thank you all for being here again. I appreciate your supporting. So the finale event, which is this, is a celebration of your commitment, the commitment of our students, our parents, our educators, every person in this town that collaborated and came together to celebrate this amazing time. The entire week is driven by the energy and passion of our young people, and it's fitting that the finale event be dedicated to them. As you all know, I hope you all know, the coalition focuses primarily on our youth in the town. And although anyone who comes in our doors, we have resources and we have answers, that can assist. But our main focus is the youth. So that being said, our sector rep, youth sector rep, is going to be our MC tonight. She's in training, so you guys be kind. She is amazing. She goes above and beyond, volunteering, her time, her efforts. Almost every Saturday she comes to do our prevention art group with our elementary school kids and then our older kids. Anything that I ask her to do, she's willing. I can't, there aren't words. So let me introduce her. Nicolina, come on up. Let's give her a round of applause. And again, be kind to her. This is her first time. She's in training.
Hello and welcome. I first want to start off by saying why I choose to be drug-free. Choosing to be drug-free is not a one-and-done choice, but rather it's a decision I make every day because I know what's at stake. How addiction affects everyone, how it changes them, how it hurts relationships, and how hard it is to get back to the person they used to be. Witnessing this and the future that I want to build for myself has made me realize that I never want to go down the path of drug use. I want something different for my future. The things I dream about, having a career I'm proud of, helping people, maybe even starting a family one day. Someday. Don't include drugs in them. I want to be someone who stays strong and makes choices that keep me moving forward. I know that doing drugs could easily take that all away. They might seem like an escape at first, but I've seen how fast it can take control of someone's life, and I don't want to lose control of mine. That's why I believe so strongly in the Coalition for a Better Wallingford. The coalition spreads awareness, offering support and helping people understand how severe substance abuse can really be. The coalition gives people in our community a chance to learn, to get help, and to see that there are better options. The work that we do helps keep kids and families safe and makes Wallingford a better place for everyone. Being drug-free isn't always an easy choice. There's pressure, stress, stigma, and at times when life feels really hard and it seems like it's the only option. But I know staying drug-free is worth it. It's how I keep my future wide open and stay true to the kind of person I want to be. I've seen what addiction can do, and I've made up my mind that it's not going to define me. Instead, I want to be an example that it's possible to live a life full of purpose, strength, and hope. Thank you. Now, here to speak on the Red Ribbon Week history is Alexandra Torres, a member of the Coalition for a Better Wallingford.
Hi there. I'm excited and honored to talk about the history of Red Ribbon Week. Red Ribbon Week started as a tribute to the fallen DEA Special Agent Enrique Kiki Camarena in 1985. Camarena, also known as Kiki, was born in Mexicali, Mexico in 1947. He was raised in California and graduated from Calexico High School in 1966. Later, he joined the U.S. Marine Corps in 1968 and served 2 years before becoming a Calexico fireman, police officer, and deputy sheriff. In June 1974, Camarena joined the DEA and was assigned to Calexico, California. After serving 3 years in Calexico, he was reassigned to the Fresno District Office in Northern California. 4 years later, he was transferred back to Mexico to work for the Guadalajaran Resident Office. For over 4 years, he pursued the country's most significant cocaine and marijuana traffickers. In early 1985, he was close to exposing a multi-billion-dollar drug pipeline, but was kidnapped February 7, 1985, before he could do so. He was last seen alive by anyone except his kidnappers on that day. It's believed that he was killed 2 days later, but his body was not discovered until about a month later, on March 5, 1985. He was 37 years old and left behind 3 children and a wife. During his 11 years at the DEA, Camarena was awarded 2 Sustained Superior Performance Awards, a Special Achievement Award, and an Award of Administration's Honor, the highest ranked award granted by the DEA. After his death, clubs named Camarena Clubs were launched in his hometown of Calexico, California, by Congressman Duncan Hunter and Henry Lozano, a close friend from high school. The club members, along with Calexico High School teacher David Dillon, honored Kiki by wearing red ribbons and pledging to lead drug-free lives. This movement gained momentum and eventually became known as Red Ribbon Week. In 1985, the Camarena Club proclamation was presented to First Lady Nancy Reagan, bringing the cause significant attention. Subsequently, different groups of parents nationwide started wearing red ribbons to promote the cause. The National Family Partnership formalized the movement in 1988, with President and Mrs. Reagan serving as honorary chairpersons. Today, Red Ribbon Week is celebrated as an 8-day program at the end of October. Every year, capitalizing to mobilize opportunities to educate youth and encourage participation in drug prevention activities. Red Ribbon Week aims to promote a drug-free society and to show intolerance to drugs in communities, schools, and workplaces worldwide. More than 80 million people in all age groups honor Kiki's sacrifices by wearing red ribbons and taking a stand for a drug-free lifestyle and a healthier society.
Now our next speaker, Mayor Cervoni.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. I want to thank the Coalition for what it's done for addiction in this town. That addiction is an illness that, until the last several decades, people didn't understand is an illness. And it has a face. And that face belongs to our family, our friends, our neighbors. If you've heard me talk at these events in the past, I talk about my cousin, one of my childhood buddies who died when I was 30 and he was 35. None of us are immune. And in order for us to all combat this disease, we have to see the face and we have to support the person. We all know that the addict makes the ultimate choice. And I know we're here to talk about choosing not drugs before you choose to do them, but it happens. So we as a community are very good about supporting awareness and prevention, and that will continue. So I have a proclamation. Whereas Red Ribbon Week is observed nationwide from October 23rd to 31st this year, 2025, as a time to promote awareness and prevention of drug and alcohol abuse. And whereas the impact of substance abuse reaches every part of our society, including our youth, making it essential for communities to unite in visible and coordinated efforts to prevent drug use. And whereas Red Ribbon Week inspires community-wide efforts that encourage individuals to embrace drug-free lifestyles, the town of Wallingford proudly supports this initiative by promoting prevention, education, and raising awareness among our youth. And whereas all residents are invited to attend Wallingford's Red Ribbon program this evening, October 30th at 6 p.m. to be held at the Wallingford Senior Center as part of our community's commitment to this important cause. And whereas businesses, government agencies, law enforcement, healthcare providers, faith-based organizations, schools, and other community groups are encouraged to show their support for healthy, drug-free living by wearing red ribbons and participating in prevention activities. Now, therefore, I, Mayor of this town of Wallingford, do hereby proclaim October 23rd through 31st, 25 as Red Ribbon Week in the town of Wallingford. And I encourage all citizens to take part in drug prevention, education, and activities throughout Red Ribbon Week and beyond as a visible declaration of our shared commitment to a drug-free community. Thank you. I'm going to leave this with
Now I would like to introduce our next presenter, Anne Bernick, a nurse from the Wallingford Health Department.
Let me know if you can't. Can you hear me? Because I have to use this side of it. Okay. So I originally presented this to the senior center, so it's really geared toward the members. But if you all could just keep in mind what we're going to be talking about for those folks in your life, maybe grandmas or your mom or dad or whoever, because I know Red Ribbon Week it does focus on our younger people, but there is still an issue with our older adults. So it's just a little reminder of that. Oops, all right, so we all know what Red Ribbon Week is. It's celebrated annually between October 23rd and the 31st. It presents an opportunity for parents, educators, and communities like we're here to reinforce drug-free messages that are shared with children throughout the year. During Red Ribbon Week, youth and adults around the nation pledge to increase their knowledge by learning about the destructive effects of drug abuse, including prescription drug misuse, and renew their commitment to a healthy, drug-free lifestyle. So what does this have to do with older adults? So with addiction and overdose rates on the rise, older adults are often sort of overlooked as a vulnerable population for drug and alcohol abuse, but older adults are increasingly at risk for developing addiction to drugs and alcohol. Recent research shows that substance abuse is increasing among our older adults, including misuse of prescription drugs, as well as illicit drugs and alcohol. So illicit drug use tends to decrease after young adulthood, but nearly 1 million adults 65 and older live with substance abuse disorder as of 2018. And also, if you think about this population, that's not the age group we are getting closer to that where we talk about it, but that age group tends not to want to even talk about it. With the total number of substance abuse disorder admissions to treatment facilities between 2000 and 2012 only differed slightly, the proportion of those admissions among older adults increased from 3.4% to 7%. So you can see we are increasing with our older adults. And I do have my sources there. So how are older adults impacted by alcohol and drugs? Aging can possibly lead to social and physical changes that may increase vulnerability to substance abuse or misuse. Older adults typically metabolize substances slowly, and the brain can be more sensitive to drugs. And older adults may be more likely to experience mood disorders, lung, heart problems, I'll add kidney, liver issues, or also memory issues that can affect them. So how are they, the effects of some drugs, they impair coordination, judgment, reaction time, can result in accidents, falls, car accidents, these type of injuries. So if I'm an older adult, a younger adult could still have an issue and have an accident, but an older adult, it's going to pose a greater risk to their health and possibly result in a much longer recovery time, which can lead to complications. Prescription medication is something we have to also think about with our older adults. Chronic health conditions tend to develop as part of aging, and as a result, older adults are often prescribed more medications than other age groups. This age group also tends to see their primary, their neurologist, their pain doctor, their neurologist, their kidney doctor. So they're seeing a bunch of maybe different specialists who may be providing and writing prescriptions. Hopefully we're all communicating, but sometimes that doesn't happen. This can lead to higher rates of exposure to potentially addictive medications. I do see, I'm here at the senior center a couple of days a week, and I'm lucky, I feel very blessed to be able to do this, but I get a chance to teach people about their medication, and sometimes they have no idea. One doctor put them on this, another, and then now they're dizzy. They don't know why. So we need to keep communicating. So a study of 3,000 adults age 57 to 85 showed common mixing of prescription meds, non-prescription drugs, and dietary supplements. People think, oh, they're just supplements. They're safe. They're not going to cause a problem. Those can cause issues as well. More than 80% of participants are on at least one prescription med daily. More than half use more than 5 medications or supplements, putting at least one in 25 people in this age group at risk for a major drug-drug interaction, and that's not even adding potentially illicit drugs or alcohol. So other risks include accidental misuse of prescription drugs and possible worsening of existing mental health issues. 2019 studies of patients over the age of 50 noted that more than 25% who misuse prescription opioids or benzodiazepines, and benzodiazepines are like Xanax, Ativan, Valium, expressed suicidal ideation compared to just 2% who didn't use them. So that's quite a bit. There should be careful screening by your provider or their provider before prescribing these medications. I think there's more, and Jeff, you could probably tell me, there's probably more looking at that than there used to be. I think there used to be more writing prescriptions. Now there's more, I don't say regulation, but there's more thought about it, I think. So opioid pain medication. Chronic or persistent pain can be more complicated in older adults, especially if they have other health problems. About 40% of outpatients 65 and older report pain. It's a lot of people. Between 4 to 9% of adults age 65 or older are on prescription opioid medication for pain. And then in the U.S., population of adults 55 and older increased by about 6%. So these are 10 years, this is 10 years ago, so now there's going to be even more. Baby boomers are aging between 2013 and 2015. Yet the proportion of those in this age group seeking treatment for opioid use disorder increased nearly 54%. That's quite a bit. During the same time, the proportion of older adults using heroin more than doubled. So you don't think about your grandma down the street or grandpa or whoever, you don't think about that age group, but it's happening. The use of cannabis by those 50 years and older has been increasing. we have medical marijuana has also increased. Research suggests that medical marijuana can be very helpful for symptoms related to chronic pain, sleep, malnutrition, depression, side effects from cancer treatment. Marijuana can interact, though, with prescribed over-the-counter medications and supplements and complicate already existing health issues and common, just normal physiological changes of older adults. Alcohol. Alcohol is the most used drug among older adults. 65% of people 65 and older report high-risk drinking, which that number surprised me. High-risk drinking is defined as exceeding daily guidelines at least weekly in the past, sorry, let me read that again. 65% of people 65 and over report high-risk drinking defined as exceeding daily guidelines at least weekly in the past year. Usually what they say is guidelines is 1 alcoholic drink, and that's like 5 ounces of wine or 1 ounce of alcohol, hard alcohol or beer for women, and 2 for men. More than 10% report binge drinking, defined as drinking more than 5 or more drinks on the same occasion for a man, and 4 or more on the same occasion for a woman. Research from 2020 shows that increase in alcohol consumption in recent years have been greater for people age 50 and older related to younger age group. And a lot of these numbers were pre-COVID. So I don't know what happened during lockdown. We'll find out. We'll have it this week. So just some things, risk factors for substance abuse disorder in older adults. Physical risk factors, chronic pain, physical disabilities, reduced mobility, transition living. We're moving from our home to a condo, maybe assisted living, loss of loved ones. Loss is a big thing. Forced retirement, poor health status, chronic illness, and then just the fact that we're taking medications and supplements. Psychiatric risk factors include an avoidance coping style, history of substance abuse disorder, previous or current mental illness, feeling socially isolated. I could do an entire presentation on social isolation. That is a major health risk for people. So just in summary, use of illicit drugs in older adults is much lower than among other adults, but it's increasing. Older adults often are more susceptible to the effect of drugs because of normal aging processes, and they can't absorb and break down drugs and alcohol easily as they once did. Older adults are more likely to unintentionally misuse medication. And then some older adults may take a substance to cope with a big life change, grief, loss, declining health, change in living conditions. Most admissions to substance abuse issues for treatment in this age group is for alcohol. There are many behavioral and medication therapies used to treat these disorders. It's never too late, which I think is hopeful. It's never too late. And definitely more scientific studies are needed to investigate the effects of substance use on the aging brain, as well as into effective treatment models for older adults with a substance use disorder. And just a couple of discussion points. So things that you might, either you as the patient or you as the person that might be going to the doctor with your family member, polypharmacy. Do I really need all these medications? Was I put on this medication for a short time and it never got discontinued? Does my primary care provider know what I'm taking? Because you might be seeing other providers. Do I discuss over-the-counter medications and supplements with my provider? Do you know what a big medication that people take all the time, that all of us, Benadryl, diphenhydramine, a lot of people will take that to help them sleep. Okay, now they're taking that on top of something else, on top of something else, and they're having a drink. It's sold over the counter, it must be safe. Not necessarily. Do I know what my medications are for and why I am taking them? So important. Do I understand side effects? Do I know how to properly store my medications? Do I know how to properly take my medications? Take it on an empty stomach? Do I take it with food, without food? Can I take these two together? And then just a few more. Am I honest when I discuss how much I use alcohol or other substances with my provider? Whenever we go for our annual physical, you get that piece of paper, you get the depression scale, and you get the, how much do you drink? starting to think I'm drinking too much. So, so you may not be honest. So be honest. The medical people, they're not gonna judge you. Do I keep my medications in a safe place if I have grandchildren or other family members coming over? And actually, that's for all of us. Do we keep our meds in a safe place? Am I babysitting my grandkids and I have my pills in a little container that they can get at? Or in my bathroom, middle school kids come in, look for my meds, so make sure your meds are properly stored. And then that's it, unless anybody has any questions.
I would like to call up our student speaker, Jared Kodo, to the stand. No.
Good evening, I'm Jared Kodo. I'm really excited to be here tonight. As a proud member of the Coalition for a Better Wallingford for the past 5 years, I want to take a moment to share why the Coalition is such an important part of my life. Getting involved with the Coalition has taught me so much about the importance of living a drug-free life through volunteering and working with an amazing group. I've firsthand seen how drugs affect lives, including how it can really derail someone's future. I've learned a lot about my community and the vital work we do to support it. Thanks to the Coalition's resources like Narcan training and programs for younger people, such as resume writing and driving for teens, I found a job and started my journey forward for a better future. Over these 5 years, I've witnessed some incredible changes in our community, and I know there is still so much more we can accomplish together. The Coalition has become a place where I can grow while helping others find their own paths in our community. I especially want to give a special thanks to Miss Diane for her constant support. Thanks to her fantastic leadership here at the Coalition, I was lucky enough to receive the Presidential Volunteer Service Award, the highest honor for volunteering in the U.S. In closing, I'd like to thank Miss Diane, Miss Kelly, and Miss Unta for putting this wonderful Red Ribbon Week event together, as well as everyone who took their time to join us tonight. Your support means the world to me. Thank you all so much.
Our next speaker is Adam Caddy from Day Openers.
Hi, my name's Adam. Can you hear me okay? Very good. Thanks for inviting me to speak tonight. The best way I've done this in the past, through help with other guys who are in recovery. I'm someone who's been in recovery for quite some time. It hasn't been a total linear trail, but it's been a great trip, and I'm going to tell you my story. Before I get started, though, I just wanted to ask in this room how many people here have people in their lives who have been affected by drug and alcohol abuse. Raise their hands. Yeah. All right, so it's prevalent, right? And we know it. And I think the biggest thing is growing up in a family of people who are alcoholics, and I'm Scotch Irish, right? So like it goes with the territory in our family group. A lot of people have been in my family tree. My dad used to joke. He said, if you shake the tree, alcoholics will fall out. Instead of apples. It's just like it's something that is part of my family's chemistry and DNA. And it's something that I believe I was born with. It's not something, when I work with other people who are in recovery, I say it's not your fault that you've been born with alcoholism or the propensity for drug addiction, but what you do about it is your responsibility, and I take that very seriously. I'm going to tell you, I attend AA meetings, and I'm just going to kind of give you the story on kind of how we do it there. So the way, and it's best done, I think, spur of the moment on the cuff. If I kind of try to engineer it, it doesn't come out as honestly, I don't think. So I'm just going to tell you my story, and the way it goes is, where I was, and then what happened, and kind of where it's led me today. So if you bear with me on that, I'll start. So I was born in Burlington, Vermont. I'm a transplant to this area. My wife works for local school here, and that's what brought us to town. Both my parents were active alcoholics, and when I was growing up, but that doesn't mean I didn't have a nice childhood. You know, I played sports. I did well in school, and I did all the stuff that everyone else does. I just had, when I went home at night, it wasn't always easy. You know, there was chaos. It wasn't violent, but it was. I was always walking around on eggshells. I've got a father who's still alive. I love dearly, who's been in recovery for 40 years probably. But when I was younger, he's a tradesman. He's a big guy. He's pretty angry guy, and we were always scared. You're walking around scared as a little kid, you know, and that's not a great way to go about things. So I tended to kind of just get out of my house as much as I could. So I would get, when I wasn't in school, I'd be at friends' houses. I'd be out and about. Both my parents worked, so I had a lot of time on my hands, which you know, was nice. And there wasn't screens back then, so we made our own fun. But you know, I also got into trouble that way too. So. You know, it didn't start out as gangbusters. You know, I was an athlete in high school, so drinking was kind of a social thing. I also was sort of a rule follower, you know, so I didn't want to get in trouble. But when kids in school started drinking, you know, I was right along with it as well. And I think I knew right off from the bat, right from the hit, that I was going to be having, you know, a problem with drugs and alcohol. I remember my first experience was I had all my friends come over, and my parents were out of town, and my older sister, 4 years older, was there to watch me. And I invited my friends over, we all got something to drink, and we all drank it. And I think at the time we were drinking wine coolers, which at the time were 99 cents for a big bottle if you're old enough. I drank that, and then I found the key to the liquor cabinet and drank everything in there as well, you know. I got sick to my stomach, fell asleep, you know, I was violent, I didn't remember a darn thing of it. And then woke up the next day, you know, covered with vomit and a puddle, and I was like, I can't wait to do this again. You know what I mean? So, you know, that was my mentality. You know, it got me out of myself and made me comfortable for a minute. It turned on me, but you know, while it was working for me, and I was, you know, I was cool for a moment. I was, you know, I was having fun. I was part of the group. I was accepted. You know, subsequently to that, my parents found out about it. My punishment was I had to call all my friends' parents and tell them that they were over at my house drinking. So the popularity kind of dropped off pretty quickly there, and you know, and then I'm back to it. So fast forward, that was in my 8th grade year. Fast forward to high school, I started out as an ice hockey player and a lacrosse player, and I was successful at that. So you know, as a 14-year-old kid, I'm taken under the wings of kids who are 18, 19 years old. After games, they're going out, you know, having fun. And I got dragged into that a little bit. It was primarily alcohol, but in Vermont, it's cold, it's dark, and people drink a lot up there, you know. So that was just what I was introduced to, and it was a social thing. You know, we'd go out on weekends after school and, you know, do our thing, and you know, not really too many consequences to the actions. You know, it was more fun and social, and a way just to hang out with my friends. All my friends were doing, all my peers, kids who were good in school, kids who were struggling in school. We were all kind of in the same boat, you know, and it was a social thing. But I knew, you know, from the go that when I picked up and used alcohol, you know, I did it full boat, you know. You know, everyone would stop and I would keep going. You know, it would be Sunday morning, everyone would be waking up, and you know, I would go back out, you know, try to find something else to drink and pick back up again, you know. And at that time, I just thought I was just kind of a wild guy. I had no idea what was going on. You know, my parents were still using, and I didn't really know what was normal and what wasn't normal, you know, to be honest. You know, I started college. I barely kind of snuck through high school because I was, I just wasn't doing my work. You know, I've got a head on my shoulders, but I wasn't applying it. And went to college at a small state school in Vermont, and proceeded to you know, drink every day I was there. I joined a fraternity, failed out of school. Came home and told my parents about it, and by this time they had gotten in recovery, and they said, hey, I think you should really go to AA and you know, start looking at yourself. So I did it, you know, and I'm like, at this point I'm 19 years old, you know, I've left school. I wasn't a very good high school student. I didn't have, you know, tons of options. I didn't grow up. I grew up with a great family, but we were poor, you know. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money in the pocket, so. I was in a tough spot, you know, but what I did is I dove in and went to AA meetings and met some people, and you know, I stayed sober for a couple of years. I wanted to do it because I wanted things to get better. I didn't necessarily want to quit drinking. I just wanted, you know, the consequences of not drinking to go away. So, you know, over a period of time, I sort of, you know, didn't work the program as they say in the program, and got back into, you know, drinking with my friends. And then, you know, through college, I kind of did one of these up and down. You know, 1 year I drank and 1 year I wouldn't. And I look at my college transcript, you know, and you know, I'm all A's the years I'm drinking, and then I'm struggling the years I'm not. And more importantly than that, it's, you know, how I feel between the years when I'm doing that. You know what I mean? You know, I think one of the major reasons that I really like the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, for those of you who don't know about it, is it's a program that's taught me to really focus on, you know, the underlying problems that cause me to drink. You know, drinking, they say in the rooms, is but a, you know, a symptom, and you know, there's other things going on. You know, and I didn't know any of these things. You know, we didn't. My dad's old school, mom's old school. You don't talk outside of the house about your drinking. You don't talk outside of the house about anything. So, you know, that left me in a place where I didn't know what was right and what was wrong. So, you know, I guess at this point, you know, I'm probably mid-20s, starting to drink a lot, started working professionally in technology, you know, got real jobs, and, you know, worked hard. You know, I was a sales guy, I still am. And that was a hustle job. You know, if you get out there and work hard, you can improve yourself. So, you know, I was working really hard. I was moving up and doing well. And you know, one of the things we like to do is in that profession is go out and drink. So you know, I was good at that, and I excelled in that as well as work. And then it started taking things away from my you know, career professionally. You know, I would put, you know, I would have I remember the one time I got fired from work. Probably the only time is I had an important meeting. I was supposed to go to New York City, take a train to the city, and meet with General Electric. That was an account I was going to manage. And it was a layup. I mean, this company just put it in my lap and said, just show up tomorrow morning. We'll get you started. You know, you'll have what you need. We'll give you all the resources. And you know, it was a really great way to make some money and have it, you know, really kind of move up in the company. And I could not go out and drink that night. You know, so I went out, you know, with the idea of having a couple of drinks. And it turned out to, you know, I was out all night and I was in no condition to go the next morning. So I called and told my boss I couldn't make it, and he's just like sick of it. You know, he's like, that's it, you're done. You know, so which was, you know, as it should have been. You know, and I didn't really learn my lesson then. I kind of kept on going, and I would say, you know, now I got married, and my son was born. I was, you know, present for him and doing the things I needed to do. And we got together with other friends. I would, you know, party harder than everyone else. But, you know, things were going okay. And then I took a job in New York. I was taking the train every day, which is kind of a boring existence. You know, you're hopping on a train. I lived in New Jersey at the time, and you know, I was riding a train, you know, 2 hours a day each way. And you know, it's popular and it's not frowned upon at all to get a brown bag. And you know, it used to be brown bags of beers, and then you know, it turned into brown bags of spirits, and then I was drinking all the time. So by this time, I knew I was, you know, I'm out of control. You know, but the problem is, what do you do when you're out of control? You know, so spoke to some friends, and they brought me to an AA meeting. I went for 3 or 4 months, and I was doing well. And then we went on a family vacation, and my wife was in, she stayed for 2 weeks, and I went and I had to return to work after a week. And I wasn't sort of doing what I needed to do, which is, you know, when you're first, I've been taught when you're first starting out with meetings is get to a meeting every day, connect with other people, read the literature, and sort of get in the process and the whole. I just wasn't really doing that. So I spun back out, and then, you know, I kind of had to come to Jesus in my life. You know, she sat me down. She was pregnant with my daughter at the time, and said, you know, I don't want to do this with, you know, a lot of people, I don't want to do this with someone who's in your condition, you know. And that was really the kick that I kind of needed to, you know, to get off the ground. So from then I started going to meetings. You know, that's 2006, 2007, 2006. You know, my kids are growing up. You know, coaching the kids, getting involved in them, you know, really getting involved in the AA program, you know, having a good life, my career's doing well, and, you know, just really enjoying things, you know, and getting by really well. And then one part of the story I just want to share is, I think it's really important to share, is for me, it's important for me to go, I've been in recovery for quite some time, but I need to keep going to meetings. So for those of you, I'm not here to preach, just here to tell you my story, but those of you who have people in recovery, it's a lifetime thing, you don't get better in a week or a month or a year, and then, turn around and you can, and for me, I can't safely drink ever again, It's not like I can pick up one, and I don't want to give it a shot and give it and test it. My life's too good on this side of drinking, So, for me, what happened is we were talking about COVID earlier. Is COVID came around, the club that I go to all the time, the recovery club, we had to close the doors because people were getting sick. I didn't go to meetings. There were online Zoom meetings, but I was so sick of Zoom. I just told myself, I'll be okay. I've got 15, 16 years of sobriety. I'm gonna be fine. And I was, I didn't pick up a drink week 1 or week 2 or week 52. But what happened is I took the time to get some things in my body fixed. I got my knees repaired from playing sports, and I was deadly afraid of using pain medication. So I started using derivatives of cannabis, like CBD oils and stuff like that. And that sort of drifted into and had a confluence of not going to meetings, using that, and then legalization of marijuana, and and now I'm trying that out, and dabbling with that, and I'm telling myself the whole time that it's okay, it's not drink, I'm not drinking, I'm not picking up, I'm not drinking, it's okay, and it led back to me picking up, and then I'm a daily drinker now. So I probably continued that for about a year. Kept my job, kept my wife. My kids probably had no idea what was going on. I'm a sneaky guy when using drugs and alcohol. I hide it, and I hide it well. I've got a high tolerance, and I can perform under the influence. You know what I mean? I'm not out there driving around, but I'm living life, and I'm missing it. So I got to a point where just a couple years ago, I came clean with my wife and just said, I was really asking to God, help me out. I feel like I'm really stuck. I woke up one morning and I just said, there's a 0% chance that anything good is going to come out of this outcome. It's only going to be negative outcomes from here on out. The way I was using, and I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't feel good about what I was doing to my family. I didn't feel good about my career chances, my health chances. It was all, it was all adding up. But I was stuck. So I went to my wife. I told her what was going on, and we decided I'd start going back to AA together. I did that for a couple of days, and then she traveled for work, and I gave her my wallet, and I gave her all my money. This is something I've never ever done before. But I gave her all my options for buying alcohol, because I was really I was scared, I was like, I don't want to pick up anymore. And she went out of town, took everything with me, or took everything that I had, every resource I had. And then I was getting ready one morning, and looked in my sock drawer, and I found a box that was full of quarters, that had been in there. So I go down to the coin star and turn it into cash and go buy alcohol, So this is after I told myself I don't want to drink. I told my wife I'm ashamed of myself. I told my boss, who's also, who doesn't drink for a long time, and I'm stuck. You know what I mean? So what do you do now? So that same day, I picked up the phone, and I knew from going to meetings there's recovery centers. I never really thought that would be something I'd aspire to when I was growing up. But made a phone call, spoke to the guy, told him what I was doing, and he's like, "We're going to come get you tomorrow morning." So I just made the decision. I was like, I'm stuck. I can't do this on my own. You know what I mean? And I needed that next sort of level of care. So, I went off to Connecticut, to a summer camp program for adults who drink too much, and ate lots of salad, and met a lot of nice people. And while we were in there, they said, look around the room. If there's 100 people in the room, there's only a handful of you guys that are going to make it, for a year in recovery. And I didn't believe it, because we're all in there, we're all doing what we're supposed to do, but it's true. I was in there probably with 60 other guys, and there's only one other guy besides myself I know that's still not using right now. And everyone else, I pray for them every day. They're They're just sick people, they're not bad people, you know what I mean? And that's something I think we have to remember. So, you know, there's guys like me everywhere in our community, you know what I mean? I'm active in the community. I'm a board member with United Way. I'm active, well, not very active with Rotary, but I'm a member of Rotary. I coach 2 sports at Choate. Both my kids have gone to school there. My wife works there. Kids are doing well. They're well adjusted. I hopefully have set a good example for them, you know, to sort of break the cycle of abuse within our family. But it's not about that. It's about, you know, doing the right thing, you know what I mean? And what I get from doing in just a second and I'll be done here, I'm sorry to take too much time, but the program of Alcoholics Anonymous has been taught to me by people who are active in it. It's a program of giving back, you know what I mean? You can't, they say you can't keep it without giving it away, you know? And the guy who helped me go through the program, which is really the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and you work through a series of steps, everyone's probably heard that before, asked me to come up here and speak, you know what I mean? And it's an anonymous program, you know, and this is not an anonymous activity. But, you know, I'd rather put my pride on the line and, you know, stand up here and let you know what's going on, and then I'm just a regular guy, and I care. And, you know, if I can help one person here, you know, I've done my job, you know what I mean? And anyone needs my number, or anyone who knows anyone who's, you know, who's struggling with addiction, I'm happy to help them. There's a lot of similarities between, you know, alcohol and drug abuse, a lot of the same sort of, you know, I'd say psychology that goes into it. But on the other side of it, you know, I'm a happy guy. I've got a great family. I have a great life, and my prospects are outstanding, you know what I mean? And it was all just because I gave up the fight and said, you know, I need some help, you know what I mean? And so, you know, if there are people in your lives that are struggling, you know, my heart goes out to you because it's hard. You know, it's a family disease and it impacts everyone. But there is hope. And the big thing is the person has to want to do it, and they have to want to get better. And we have to, you know, rub the stigma off of this thing. You know what I mean? Like, I have nothing against drinking. I think most of my friends still drink. You know what I mean? And I don't have a problem with that. It's just not for me. You know what I mean? You know, I have friends who are, you know, can't eat strawberries, or, you know, their throat pulls up. You know, they don't get up one morning and say, you know, maybe I'll just try it today. Have a couple strawberries. You know, they stay away from drinking strawberries. You know, that's for me. You know, I have, as been defined in the program, I have an allergy to alcohol. You know, when I drink it, you know, I break out in trouble. You know, so I'm just going to stay away from it, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and hopefully, you know, this message is helpful for someone in this room. So thank you.
Thank you so much. That was an amazing speech. Next, I would like to hear, now we're going to hear a few words from Christopher Reagan, a Wallingford Town Council member.
Good evening, everyone. Adam, I'm there. I'm right there with you. Thank you for sharing. It's kind of what we as addicts need to do. And it gives us positive affirmations every day, whether we're telling ourselves the same story over and over and over again, to just get the small win and just go through that day. Forget about the week, the month, the year. It's just to go day by day. Won't be that brief, but I have some poignant updates as far as, not updates, but here's my story. And again, thank you for inviting me. My name is Chris Regan. I am a veteran, a CEO, founder of a nonprofit organization, and one of your elected town officials. And I'm proud to serve our community. And today I'm here to share a story of struggle, of hope, and the urgent need to face the truth about addiction right here locally. There are some people who believe addiction is someone else's problem. A big city issue doesn't touch our quiet streets or strong families. But addiction doesn't care about zip codes. It hides in homes where loved ones battle in silence, in workplaces where stress masks pain, in our schools where young people face pressures we never imagined. Denying its presence doesn't make it disappear. It keeps those who need help trapped in the shadow. As a community, we must open our eyes to this reality to offer the support that can save lives. 2,686 days ago, nearly 7.5 years, I woke up at the bottom of a pit so deep the light above was a distant memory. Every morning felt like Groundhog Day, hands shaking, staring into a mirror, promising myself today will be different. Every night I broke that promise, hating myself a little more, the lies that I told about being just fine, the trusts that I shattered, hating myself a little more each day. The moments I missed with my family, they became mountains of shame I couldn't climb. But rock bottom you can crack open, letting in just enough light to shine the way forward. When we say addiction isn't a problem, we overlook the parent hiding their struggle, the teens experimenting under pressure, or the professional numbing stress with substances. I've heard the whisper, that doesn't happen here, but I lived it. Addiction thrives in silence, and every time we dismiss it, we make it harder for somebody to reach out. By acknowledging its presence, we can build a community where recovery is possible for everyone, not just those who fit some stereotype. My addiction nearly destroyed everything. My relationship with my wife, Donna, was hanging by a thread. My kids didn't know who I'd be from one day to the next. My employees feared my unpredictable behavior. Years of therapy, sometimes with my spouse, sometimes alone, were a performance. I played the part of a man in control, but it was an act, and I was convincing. Then one day, at a lunch in Florida, with a customer's executive, everything shifted. I ordered my usual drink. He ordered a seltzer. An awkward silence fell, and he noticed my shaking hands. He looked at me and said, "How long have you been an alcoholic?" My defenses rose, and then they soon quickly crumbled. He shared his story. 10 years in prison with cocaine use and distribution, multiple DUIs, and was at that point 20 years sober. When my drink arrived, I couldn't touch it. He explained addiction wasn't about the drink or the pills that I sometimes took. It was my mind losing control over my body, harming everything I valued. He said something profound. Only those who walk the path of recovery can truly understand it. He dismissed my excuses that I started to give about how I got there. It only matters what you do going forward, he said. His recovery story cut through my fog like a lightning bolt. He grabbed my laptop, asked for my address, and gave me a list of inpatient facilities near me. We found one in Middletown, close to home. My heart raced, shame flooded me. I reached for my drink, but again I stopped short. Tears fell, and he handed me his phone. He dialed the number. "If you want to keep doing business with me, you'll get clean," he said. And when somebody answered that call, I replied, "I need help." For me, recovery wasn't a straight path. It was like learning to walk after a devastating injury. Some days I could barely crawl, other days I stumbled backward. Sleepless nights, raw emotions, and the weight of nearly 2 decades of numbing pain tested me. Recovery isn't just about putting down the substance, it's about picking up your life piece by piece. It's facing reality without a crutch, learning to feel again, and forgiving yourself when that feels impossible. Too many in our community see addiction as a choice or a moral failing, not a disease that grips people. This misconception stops us from funding treatment programs, supporting recovery networks, or even openly talking about the issue. I'm a CEO, I'm also a Marine veteran, I'm a father, I'm a husband, yet I was also an addict. By sharing my story, I hope to show our community that addiction touches all kinds of lives. Recovery starts when we stop judging and start listening. Today, I'm 2,686 days clean. That's 2,686 mornings choosing life over darkness, light over darkness, 2,686 battles won, some easily, some by a thread. Those struggles shaped me. Every scar, every step, every victory is part of who I am now. To those who think addiction doesn't touch our own, I ask you to look a little closer. It's in the eyes of someone you know, as was previously done. I think everybody's hand went up. And it may be even be hiding behind somebody else's smile. We can't solve what we can't see. Together, or we won't see, together we can make our town a place where recovery is as real as the problem itself. To those struggling, I see you. I was you. I will forever be you. The tunnel feels endless, but there's light at the end. Recovery isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, choosing hope, even when it feels like a fairy tale. To my wife Donna, my kids, who stayed when I gave them every reason to leave, you are my light. Your love was the rope I climbed out of that pit. Your forgiveness taught me to forgive myself. 2,686 days ago, I was dying. Today, I'm alive, truly alive. When I look in the mirror, now I see a survivor, not a stranger. I see someone who's learned it's never too late to begin again. The opposite of addiction isn't sobriety, it's connection. Our darkest chapters can become our greatest testimony. Our wounds can become wells of compassion. Every day of sobriety is a miracle worth celebrating. So here I stand, 2,686 days later, humbled and grateful. Not perfect, but present. Not finished, but free. To anyone fighting their own battles, keep going. Your story isn't over. Sometimes the light enters through the cracks we're most ashamed of, and those cracks can make us whole again. If you're fighting your own demons and want to talk to somebody who's been there, I'm here. Find me, and I'll help you find yourself. Hell, I'll even dial the number for you. Thank you again for letting me share my story.
And thank you so much for coming over here and sharing. Next, I would like you to turn your attention to Sarah, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Blodgett, I got it, and from the National Guard / APW.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Sergeant First Class Sarah Blodgett. I serve with the Connecticut National Guard Counter Drug Task Force. We are your drug demand prevention outreach members, myself and Tech Sergeant Gustafson in the back. We cover different regional behavioral health action organizations. We're embedded within those as an extra pair of hands, force multiplier to push those prevention efforts and educate all. Does everyone know what an RBHAO is? Okay. Real quick, so Region 2, South Central area is Alliance for Prevention and Wellness. We cover so many different trainings, different initiatives, recovery-friendly workplaces, talking about destigmatizing, using person-first language, how important that is. And then we're also a great asset for safe storage or safe disposal, which is very important to allow that not to get into the hands of others. So every day we work to support communities, schools, families, and youth by promoting prevention and helping those make safe and healthy choices. Red Ribbon Week, we were in schools all week, and it's a time to reflect on what it means to live substance-free lives. It's more than just a personal decision. It's about setting goals. We talk to them about taking care of themselves and looking out for each other. We talk about how every choice you make today can shape your future. How staying substance-free gives you and all those others the focus, energy, and confidence to chase those goals. Whether that's in sports, school, college, or future in the military, right? We can't use different substances in the military as well. You live by being prepared, reliable, and someone that your team can count on. And we believe that's so important to instill in our youth. Prevention is also about community. We talk about how looking out for your friends, look out for your community, speak out if someone is in trouble. We talk about supporting each other. Strength isn't just about what you can do for yourself, it's about uplifting those around you and having each other's back. Red Ribbon Week, we honor that DEA agent, Enrique Kiki Camarena, who sacrificed his life protecting others from the dangers of drugs. His courage reminds us that one person's commitment to doing the right thing can make a lasting difference. Let this week remind you and all those youth to staying strong, staying substance-free, focused, and looking out for each other. Thank you.
Now, as our event comes to an end, I would like to shift to Miss Kelly, the Wallingford Coalition's Youth Outreach / Project Coordinator, for our closing and thank you.
On behalf of the Coalition for Better Wallingford, just like to say thank you so much for coming out on this disgusting night to join us. Thank you to all of our speakers. We are so grateful to have you here. Also want to shout out the Wallingford Public Schools for all our awesome puzzle pieces. After, when this is all wrapped up, please walk around and take a look. We have middle school, elementary, and high school kids that have been working really hard all week on submitting their reason to stay substance-free and healthy choices from the elementary schools. Also would love to thank APW for being here, the Wallingford Police Department, the Health Department, Tri-Circle, the Wallingford Public Library, Boys and Girls Club, who else? SCAL, YSS, and the Senior Center for hosting us tonight, the YMCA, and the Elks Club. If I forgot anybody, I'm sorry. But thank you so much for coming, and please take some snacks and some goodies before you go, and drive safe. Thank you.